What's up, everyone, and welcome to World Building with Xizta. It's me, and Omikins, over there.
I can't really see what's going on, but hey.
What?
Oh, there we go.
So,
So,
we have decided we are going to build a world. Right? We have never done this before, so this
nope.
is new to us as well as you guys. And we're gonna go through this journey together. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the basics. First, we're gonna kind of draw the preliminary overworld like map. Like the continents and the islands and that kind of stuff. Not necessarily all of them. We can always add more. We could take away whatever doesn't end up working. But as we go. So first and foremost, what we need to decide before we even start drawing anything is what type of world it's going to be in terms of the landscape. Like, not does it have mountains and swamps and all that? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, is this going to be a one mega continent Pangea style world, or is it going to have been a mega continent Pangea style world that broke apart, much like the world we live in these days in real life?
Mm-hmm.
Or were these land masses just there? There's no explanation. That's the first step. That's the first thing we have to decide before we draw anything. So,
Personally, I like the idea of a broken up landmass deal because then you can throw in the story that there was a catastrophe and, there'd be more diversities from across the map than just one big pile of muck. That's how I feel.
there's definitely that option. It's kind of a overused trope as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just to be fair, don't have to
Yeah.
go with that option. But I'd like some input from chat. We have some people in chat here. What style would you guys prefer to do? And we'll kind of go from there. So, let's start with a clean canvas. Omi will be drawing everything.
Okay. First, another question. Are we going with a white clean canvas or something that looks more mappy?
That's fine. We go with that.
Okay.
So,
We're going more mappy.
we're going more mappy, Dora the Explorer style. So, you've already expressed that you would like a Pangea destructive kind of format. I'm kind of undecided, so I think it's really going to come down to what chat wants here. Because you could go with the route of, oh, it was never connected in the first place, these are just land masses, whatever. And at that point, it doesn't matter. You have full reign to just draw whatever the hell you want.
Right.
For the Pangea that's broken apart, the why it's so key to go to decide that beforehand is then you know how to
Still
shape
have
the
to.
neighboring kind of lands to make it look like it was connected at some point. So if you have like a big gulf in one area, that piece may fit from somewhere else, that's on another landmass that you're like, oh, that was in there. Okay, that makes sense. So it does base how you're going to start drawing things. But it seems like chat does not want to decide at this point.
I think they're thinking is what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sev wants a world where all the continents are named after holidays. This is not the Nightmare Before Christmas. So, I mean, I guess we could start with a landmass of some sort first. So you could start with a continent, and as chat makes up their mind, that we could decide how it goes from there.
Okay.
So.
I'm just deciding on if I want to zoom in and draw and see how that looks, or just try and map it from here.
I mean, you go with whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. I make weird noises when I draw, sorry. It's my thinking noises. Oh my goodness. I kind of feel like I want something over here, like a sack.
Of potatoes?
A, a, a sock, not a sack.
Oh. You clearly said sack, but okay.
Well, I'm Canadian, so it could be either or. I'm glad we chose to not do this traditionally because I have the eraser tool is God.
Yes.
It is God.
So Chrissy's saying a split world would be kind of cool. And Sev is saying, yeah, every continent is a different season. We'll worry about the continents themselves as we get on and figure that out. Because that is also going to be something we have to decide where the equator falls, where the polar caps are, if the polar caps are actually cold.
If there are even polar caps.
Yeah. Like, because we're used to our world where the North Pole, South Pole are cold. It could be inverted. The poles could actually be the warmest areas, and the equator is the coldest. There's no rules to that. We kind of go how we want. So, got a little Pac-Man thing going on here. I'm liking it.
Nom.
I'm liking it.
I didn't even realize it was Pac-Man until you said something. Looks like he's had better days.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Here, there's even a little lake right here. No, get out of here. We're not doing that yet.
Yeah, we will get into lakes and rivers and mountains and forests and deserts and swamps and all that, at another point. But right now we're just going to kind of go with some land masses. Now, it's important to know we don't have to fill out the entire map.
Not today, no. We don't have to do that.
Well, just in general, I mean, the entire space on the canvas does not necessarily even have to be full. So... But yeah, in general, what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna cover everything. Like we're gonna get into creatures and characters and different settings and backstory and lore and all of that. We will flesh out as this goes on further and further.
I feel like there should be a little peninsula over here.
A peninsula?
Yep.
Not a peninsula?
No, yeah, that's the one. There could be a bunch of guacamole trees down here. I'm sorry. Can't help it. I can't help, but that's one of the best inside jokes we've got, so.
Yes, we'll explain most of them. We'll incorporate a lot of them as time goes on as well.
Yeah.
The other thing, it's kind of interesting to wonder, is this going to be a predominantly land-based world, or is this going to be a primarily water-based world? What is the ratio of water to land?
So far, I mean, this can be connected to other things, but I mean, I'm liking what we've got here already.
And to determine the scale and everything, we'll figure that out later. Because, for example, see the tiniest little island right there? That could be the size of the United States for all we know. I'm just saying.
Oh my.
I'm just saying. So we will figure out the actual scale of these lands later. But yeah, right now it's just kind of going with the feel of the world and what we want to build. And I mean, we could kind of come up with some loose concepts for, what these areas are, and I will document them, but we're not going to go into detail and be like, oh, we could say, oh, that these are 3 uninhabited islands, that they are trade routes, like we could figure that kind of stuff out, without going into detail of the who, what, when, where, and why of it. But
I mean, there's eventually going to be a wiki, correct? So
yeah, we're gonna make a wiki. We're gonna follow it along. We're gonna be able to take all the drawings, everything we do from here, incorporate it onto the wiki, so people can see this information, maybe add to it and stuff as it goes on. It's definitely looking less and less like Pac-Man now, and I like that.
yeah, well, I mean, I had to just put down the baseline so I can go in and start adding a little bit of detail on the like coast-ish kind of deal. So it does look more like a map than like it's not straight lines like this. There's always like little divots and it's sketchy.
Yeah, of course. And keep in mind too, this map may not even be what the world actually looks like. This could be a character cartographer's map that lives in the world. So there may be undocumented things that they don't have or are slightly inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
So this does not, and then this is our world. So at any point we can change anything that we want. So.
Yep. Where do you guys want me to go from here? Because this to me is seeming like it's kind of like a barrier, like a natural landmark that splits land, or kind of like a river or whatever, or maybe a mountain range or something. That's what I'm
Okay, so
feeling
you're saying that's not even the end of that landmass, that there could be more to it?
I mean, yeah, it could be just an island and that's the other side, or that could be like a river that's separating it from a bigger piece,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be a mountain range. I just feel like I don't know which way to go now.
Yeah. I mean, guacamoles.
Because this obviously that's just a straight line. I feel like I could go off more that way, but like to the north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just because you drew this in the bottom left-hand corner of the map does not even mean this is the south. We can flip the map, rotate the map at any point. We can add more to the map on the sides. There's everywhere. That could be the dead center.
This is why I like using digital, because look I'm moving it all over. It can go anywhere.
I mean, we could even rotate this whole thing and be like, no, we actually drew it upside down. At any point,
Here we go.
We could flip continents and see. You get a whole different perspective on what things look like, Just because it was drawn one way does not mean it has to stay that way.
Nope.
So, I like that finishing off as a landmass, I think.
Okay, so I'll just I won't keep it straight like that. I'll go up and then kind of bring it down.
Sure.
Okay. Erase this line. Otherwise I'll get confused.
But I think there should be not necessarily a river, but a separation. That is a separation. And there'll be another continent that follows the same tracing of that, just next to it. But there's ocean water between it. But, it's fairly close. That's not meaning it's a river, but...
Okay. All right. I mean, this can also just be like a quarter of the world that we're doing. So.
Oh, of course. This may be one tiny little section of the map. Like, I said, oh, that little island could be, the size of the United States. It could. but
It does kind of look like it could fit in there, like if you turned the big Pac-Man, put his butt up into the into that bay kind of thing.
but the whole keep in mind too, this whole thing that we're drawing, all of this could be the size of Hawaii, for example.
Yeah, that
You
could be
know,
Hawaii.
so
A strait, not a river or an ocean.
yeah,
A
yeah,
strait.
yeah.
How about yeah? Mm,
Definitely liking that so far.
Yeah, it's definitely shaping out to be something now.
Yeah, like in my head, I'm personally like trying to think, oh, what could this be? What, just to get ideas to jump ahead. We're not gonna narrow that down. We're not gonna flesh it out, but yeah, we can talk about what these things could be. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like if this whole chain cluster that we're done is the same, like ruled under the same territory. If they're at war with each other.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff is definitely down the line,
Hmm.
kind of, especially when it comes to making it concrete. But like,
Right. It's definitely stuff that we can start thinking about
mhm.
as well. Keep seeing a dog with no front legs. Yeah, like a poodle. If you were to rotate it, the top being its nose.
Oh yeah, I see it now. It just has really like it's the poodle with the really front big puff, and then like no, they just decided to shave the back legs because they're idiots. I
Yeah.
totally see that now. Okay.
See, and like this whole thing too could function like we don't know the actual world, if we're gonna do like a high fantasy, where everybody's got magic, or if there's limited magic, or any magic, or whatever is going on here, and we'll determine all that later. But this could even function like the island on Lost, where it moves around. It doesn't stay in one static location. This is an island that travels.
That reference is lost on me.
Exactly. So there is so
Oh,
many different
God.
things we could do. These could even be floating islands. These don't even necessarily have to be in the water. These could be 200 feet above the water. There's so many different things that we could do and decide, and that will all be factors in later. But it's just it's things to think about.
Well, we were talking about it, and we were kind of like talking about having reverse shifters where they're predominantly always animals, but they shift into humans instead.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Um,
all kinds of things that we can do with this. Um, and yeah, we've had some talks about various things. The big thing, like, I definitely want to make it a more fantasy world instead of like a sci-fi world. That doesn't mean our fantasy world can't have technology, because
mhm.
that is a common trope as well that you see, that fantasy and sci-fi or technology can't blend. Like, oh, you can't have rocket ships to travel to other planets. You can totally have that without it being sci-fi.
You could totally do that, yeah.
Um,
I mean, is our culture sci-fi? Not really. I
no.
mean, we have spaceships that fly out into outer space, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually gonna zoom in and start. I mean, because unless we're gonna expand what we've got so far, I'm gonna actually zoom in and just start
Yeah.
going over the lines.
Go for it. Yes, Kiggles, it can be called steampunk, but steampunk, when you think of steampunk too, you're thinking of like, oh, they have top hats and monocles, and like there's definitely a specific style to steampunk as well. And that doesn't have to be the case. Like, you don't have to fill these tropes. Because think of like the modern fantasy world that everybody knows and is associated with. And then all of a sudden just take magic out of it. Like, it never existed. And all the stories that involve magic don't exist. And you're pretty much left in like medieval times. Right? So, who's to say you can't just incorporate technology and magic and not have it be steampunk? We don't have to stick to the traditional tropes. We can go our own route as well, and that is something that I would like to encourage too. Is I kind of want to, not saying that this is how we're gonna do it or that concrete anything, but like when you think of fantasy too, like, because I definitely want magic. I want to, that's something I want to incorporate in here. But when you think of magic and you think of fantasy and stuff, you instantly think of elves and dwarves and like orcs, some kind of orc creature. Mm-hmm. And like those are the big ones, and I don't want to focus on those. It's not to say they don't exist in the world, and it's not to say if they do exist that they don't exist differently than how they're perceived. So you think I like that word trope? You said it like 6 times in 5 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, if it's the conversation. I heard an elephant.
There's an elephant on the island?
Yep. Huh. It's right there.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah. He's there somewhere. Just a lonely little elephant. Kind of like the poop horse that was drawn on stream earlier.
Hmm.
And then he got wiped out of existence. Like, literally wiped.
Terrible puns are terrible.
I know. I'm on a roll tonight with terrible puns. Oh, let's not get started with that there, Kiggles.
And now, these islands and continents and stuff that you drew,
mm-hmm.
Who's to say these are even islands right now? Who's to say that what you drew is not actually the water?
So we got a big lake and then a slightly smaller lake with a lake that has a land bridge and then ponds.
There's different ways we can interpret it. We're going to keep these as land masses. But I'm just saying. You could, at any point, you can throw things on their head and think about them a different way and see how they work.
Mm-hmm. That line got a little too thick.
That's a frog head. It could be. This is where frog people could live.
Murlocs?
No. This isn't World of Warcraft.
I know it's not. They're not really frogs anyways. They're just stupid.
I think they're like fish, right? Didn't we find that out in one of the expansions?
They're like really mutated goldfish.
They got flushed down the toilet.
Yeah. And then the Jinyu are evolved Murlocs, which is, I thought was wicked cool. When I found that out, I was like, oh my god, I want to be a Jinyu. Kind of like when we were first introduced to the Arakoa in the Burning Crusade, I was like, I want to be an Arakoa so bad. I want to be a bird people.
You mean IRL or in the game?
No, in the game. I don't want I don't want to deal with molting and stuff like that. IRL, fuck that shit. That's messy. And I'm not really a fan of nuts or birdseed, so it's just a bad mix.
Yeah. And then, something else we're going to have to come up with is obviously names. We'll have to come up with names of the continent and the islands and things like that. So if you get, we're not going to go around naming everything right away. But if you guys come up with some names, I could write them down, and we can go through them later, and make final decisions and change things. Like, like I was saying before, prominently in fantasy, there's dragons everywhere, and dragons are a big staple of it. I personally would like dragons to be a little more rare, and have them not like they don't speak like they're actual creatures, like more of a
Just
I
a
guess a
beast.
Skyrim, more of a Skyrim and less of a Hobbit,
Some of the dragons in Skyrim talk. They're intelligent enough.
Yeah.
But most of them are just bestial. They're
Right.
primal. So, yeah, I like that idea. So, speaking of Skyrim, when it comes out on the Switch, are you playing that?
I think I will. Yeah.
Yeah? Oh,
I have not
man.
played Skyrim yet, and that just seems the perfect perfect way to do it.
It's pretty clunky on the PC. I mean, it's good, but I mean, for a first time, I think playing on the Switch would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's something I could take on the go with me. Something that I could dock up and stream here and various things. So it should be interesting. I'm actually really looking forward to the Switch. I see everybody giving Nintendo such gripes and stuff about it, but when it comes down to it, gamers are gamers, and you're gonna play.
Yeah.
You're gonna play what you like. And if you don't like Nintendo games, you're not going to buy a Nintendo console. Nintendo consoles are never a replacement for your other home consoles or for your PC. So if you're looking for it to be the ultimate gaming box, you're not going to enjoy it. You stick with a computer at that point. If you're looking for the Nintendo IPs, that's what you're going to buy it for. You're not going to buy it for the third party. Third party support is fantastic. I love third party games. I want to see more of them. But I don't buy a Nintendo for third-party games,
Although their third-party lineup is looking really
Their third-party lineup is looking fantastic.
really good.
You need to have a
super
kingdom
excited.
where Queen Thelena reigns, and her entire kingdom is salt flats. That is something that we can do, Kiggles.
We could totally do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one stipulation. You have to draw Thelena. Kiggles. That's your job for that. You're drawing Thelena.
She rules over the salt flats, where they have salt mines.
Salt mine. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That sounds great. I'm ready for that.
It's like Dune. Mining for salt.
No one is gonna buy the Switch. It's sold out already. What are you talking about?
Nobody can buy the Switch.
Yep, because it's done. People have bought it. It's just sold out now.
No, he's joking from a previous Twitter conversation.
Yeah. I know what conversation that is. And at that point, I was the salty one. I was so salty.
But also, according to you, anyone who didn't pre-order a Switch hates Zelda. Right? just throwing that out there. It's on record.
Yep. It is on record. I'm not deleting it either. I stand by my statement.
Yeah. But here, definitely, I want to have some kind of, like, Isle of Mystery. Because Nikki over here is going to roll her eyes. Omi's going to roll her eyes over here. But Lost was such an integral show that changed a lot for me in terms of things. Like, I didn't really watch TV before Lost. I was not a big TV person. Because a lot of, what I grew up with and stuff were, more, Nickelodeon and cartoons and stuff like that. And I just never, once I transitioned out of that phase, I never really got into TV. And then it was when Lost came along, that was where I was like, oh, well, this is what adult TV is, because I was used to my mom watching soap operas and, reality shows, and I just couldn't get into TV when it was like that. I mean, that's not to say that stuff doesn't still exist, because it does, but, Lost was a big thing for me, and it was, the adventure, the journey, the mystery, and everything there, and it was always changing, and you never knew what was going on, and I do want something like that. That's not to say the entire thing is influenced and has to follow what happened on the show. That's not what I'm saying. But definitely some inspiration there. An island that changes or moves, or, something out of the norm of the staple world. I do want to incorporate that somewhere, where the properties only exist on this one island that is very, very different from the rest of the world. So at least the salt flats will be the safest place against demons and ghosts. See, Chrissy's already incorporating the TV show Supernatural into.
Yep.
So we'll definitely be pulling from a lot of our favorite things and incorporating them somewhere.
I'm loving that idea. Thank God Kiggles was here.
Yeah. No, we'll do it. There will be salt flats. In fact, I'm going to mark this down. While Omi's doing that, I'm going to have this text document here, and we will do salt flats, some inside jokes that we want to include will be Thelina. May not use the last name Gomez, but...
No. It has to be more, I want to say, fantastical.
Yes.
Not saying that the last name Gomez is bad. I'm just saying that we need a little bit more fantasy.
Yeah, well, that was the Lena Gomez was an inside joke that we had that incorporated from something else. But we will. It was obviously a Selena Gomez reference, but we will probably end up changing that. But we'll do Queen Thelina somewhere, and then we'll do Albert Vacata. We'll include him somewhere.
Right down here in the guacamole tree area. That's his little peninsula of guacamoles. Down in here, Albert. He's a lord and such. That's his territory down there.
So Sev is kind of coming up with a cross between Lord of the Flies and like Neverland kind of thing, an island run by kids, and once you turn 18 you have to leave. That's something that we could possibly incorporate. So I'll just write some of these ideas down.
So now that these are kind of cleaned up a bit, I'm going to zoom back out and see how that looks.
Did I say Lord of the Rings or Lord of the Flies? I thought
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, okay, I did say Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, that's been good.
Yeah.
Nice and crisp.
Well, then, at some point we could decide if there's demons in this world or ghosts, or if that kind of stuff even exists. But yeah, it's definitely some stuff we could come up with.
And these videos that we're doing, they are going up on YouTube.
Yep. So if you miss a episode, they'll be up there, so you guys can follow along. Go back and reference things. That way, if we forget to write something down, you go back and watch a video, you could suggest it again, and we can see if we can incorporate it in some way. But yeah, no, I definitely like the ideas. Keep them coming, and figure that out. I mean, I'd like to incorporate and get everybody that is involved in chat and stuff, incorporate them into the world somehow. And then we can all use this world for various things. If we want to turn it into something where we can make like D&D campaigns, stuff out of that, or if we want to write a story or make a game, or be it a board game, or a 2D game, or a sandbox style game, anything, whatever we want, we can use this for.
Yep.
Queen Thelena has the machine powered by sucking the anger out of people and turns salt into gold.
That's alchemy right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
The
And
only way to
overpowered.
defeat it is by crying on it.
But aren't tears mostly salt anyways? Like, hmm. How does that work? I feel like we need some, like, ambient music or something.
No,
No?
absolutely
We good?
not.
There's enough banter?
Of course, we have chat going.
We have chat? Okay.
That's why it's funny. Magic, Omi.
Okay.
They have to be virgin tears.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense if they're virgin tears, not just
I
regular
mean,
tears.
that's something else that we kind of. I mean, we could kind of decide that now. If we're gonna have, like a high fantasy world where everybody has access to magic, or if only certain people have magic, or if magic is taboo, if it's restricted, governed. Magic
there's
could
been
be illegal.
Yeah, I've watched a fair bit of like shows where the magic is limited or governed or completely legal. Like if you get caught using it, you get like hung, you get executed. So I mean, that is always an interesting concept because then it makes magic precious.
Kiggles wants a continent where it's just overused fantasy tropes. It's definitely a possibility. And in fact, if we decide that this is going to be a world filled with technology, we're not limited to one planet either. It's not to say that we're going to go and turn this into Star Wars where there's like a million alien races and things like that, but, this could be like a Stargate kind of world where life started somewhere and was kind of seeded. So it's the same type of, you may see humans here and humans on, a nearby planet, and everything, but they all originated from one place and traveled, not that all life started at the same time everywhere and created things like, the millions of different aliens exist in Star Wars. This may not have even been the planet of origin. This planet may have been something that people traveled to. Like one of my favorite cartoons growing up was the Dino Riders, and it was a sci-fi show, sci-fi cartoon where these humans were fighting these aliens, and one of them tried to go into like hyperdrive, and the other ship locked them in a tractor beam at the same time, and something malfunctioned, and they actually time traveled to prehistoric Earth, and the two ships were stranded on an Earth filled with dinosaurs, and they still had some functioning technology, but they couldn't get off the planet, so they were forced to live there and cohabitat with the dinosaurs and stuff like that. So this could be something where a large number of humans have crash landed onto this planet. The humans came from somewhere else, but they were stranded here. They colonized. They made their way. Now they have the ability to get off, but they don't want to leave. You know, there's all different things that we can do with stuff like that. So that is stuff that, you know, we can decide, but we can get the conversation going now. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this something you want to see more of a high fantasy where, you know, everybody has access to magic? Or do you want to make it like a medium fantasy where, you know, magic, everybody knows about it, but not everybody has it? You know, or low fantasy where magic is very rare and people think of it as a myth, kind of like Jedi or Harry Potter. You know, like, people in the real world don't know that there's people with magic, but they go inside of a wall and all of a sudden they're at a school that everybody has magic at, you know? The train platform? I've actually not even seen all of Harry Potter, I'm going to be honest, but...
9 3/4.
Sure, that. Yeah. There's a race of people made of clay that are enslaved by an evil witch named Rita Repulsor. Dr. Seuss type planet island where everyone talks like the books.
I mean, that's a language thing, right? So that can definitely be incorporated somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I guess probably a good thing to decide now would be what type of fantasy do we want to go into, and then that's something that we could pick up on and elaborate next week, and flesh out the rest of the details. But do we want a low, medium, or high fantasy? You know, where low is magic is rare, with, you know, like maybe The Hobbit, where you have like Gandalf that does magic, and that you know, what's the other wizard? Cleo's gonna kill me. Sauron, and the guy, is that the same wizard from The Hobbit? Wasn't there another one in The Hobbit that rode on a sled of rabbits or something?
I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's the one with all the bird poop on his head.
Yeah, that guy. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like there's a few wizards and stuff in Lord of the Rings, but magic is fairly rare, you know, in that world. Or, you know, do we want a medium fantasy which is like, you know, World of Warcraft, I guess would be the best reference for that, where magic exists. People have them. Not everybody has magic. Rogues don't have magic, for example.
Warriors.
You know, warriors don't have magic. Not everybody has access to magic, but it's known about, and the people that have it, you know, don't, you know, use it. Or we could have high fantasy where literally everybody has magic, and, you know.
There are so many ways you can just make so many loopholes, and, you know, you can just be like, well, magic, and then the story continues. And I hate when TV shows do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just like, oh, it was just magic. It's fine. It works out because magic. And I hate that excuse. So I personally don't want to go down that route.
So you don't want to go with high fantasy?
No.
So it's really going to come down to, do we do a medium or a low fantasy? And due to like the stigma between magic and technology, if we wanted to go the route of technology and then you had magic be rare, it makes it a little more believable for the people that can't let go of technology and magic not being able to function.
Yeah. To coexist.
Because in like our world, we have science versus faith, right? And that's kind of the big thing. Like that is the big, you know, was the world created by God, or was it created by, you know, the Big Bang, and was it all scientifical, or was it a creationist kind of thing, where in this world we can go through that same kind of question, but you can do it with magic and technology instead.
Yeah, because, everybody believes something different. So.
Yeah.
Especially if we're going to have multiple customized races. They're all going to have their own system of moralities and beliefs, so.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a traditional elf, right? And you don't want to change the elf too much. You don't want to change the appearance of, like, the pointy ears and, you don't want to change an elf so drastically that it's not recognizable as an elf anymore. But that doesn't mean you have to follow every single aspect of the elf. You could put a twist on them, So I guess it comes down to, and we'll go to chat with this one, is what kind of stylized fantasy world do you guys want to see? Do you want to see a more medium, somewhere in the middle? You want to see a low fantasy where magic is rare? Or do you want to see a high fantasy where magic is literally everywhere and everyone has it? And just because it's everywhere and everyone has it doesn't mean there can't be restrictions to it.
This is true.
So.
But there's always that jackass who doesn't give a frig about the freaking restrictions, so.
Mm-hmm.
I hate those guys.
That's the villain.
I know.
And we mentioned before, there's all the different fantasy tropes and everything. And the one that I really want to focus on not doing is there is a prophecy of one person who doesn't know anything that is going to come up and be the hero and save the world. That is overused more than any single trope in fantasy. That is our like Bilbo Baggins of the story. Mm-hmm. That is our Luke Skywalker of the story. I don't want that. I don't want that. It's just so overused.
Yeah. Well,
Seb wants to draw a steampunk elf, but I draw like a 2-year-old. I as well, Sev. I draw stick figures.
That's why he kind of like enlisted me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm no pro or anything. I mean, what did I just draw? A couple blobs on a canvas. It's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, the hero with the sword of light will save the land of Expel. I thought you were going for a Legend of Zelda kind of thing, the hero of time. The prophecy of two people that will save the world plot twist. They're the same. They're Siamese twins.
Huh.
Star Ocean too. Okay.
Star Ocean. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we could totally do a twist on that too. Like, if you want to have a prophecy, that enacts, like, why not have the prophecy that creates the villain instead? And go more of a like, Star Wars route.
Yeah, a Vader route. Yeah. I can see
brings balance to the Force. Okay, well, yeah, you have this one good guy turn evil and slaughter all of the good guys, and since Jedi are already pretty rare as it is, now there's no more dark Jedi, there's no more light Jedi, there's like 3 Jedi in the world at that point, or 4, I guess, because you could say Luke, Leia to a degree, Vader and Palpatine. And then Vader kills Palpatine and himself sacrifices himself. And now you have, Luke and Leia and Darth Maul, because he is still alive. But yeah, I don't know. So
Just saving. Just in case something happens.
K-Hash, wasn't that basically the premise of the revamp of Heroes? Heroes Reborn. Yeah,
A little bit, yeah. They
kind of
weren't
was.
Siamese. They weren't Siamese twins, but they were twins. Yes.
Kind of was. Yeah, so if we're gonna do a story with something like that, I definitely want to change that up somewhere out of the norm.
Hmm.
But
Well, that's what we
yeah.
got so far. So
hmm So it's up to you guys. What are we doing in terms of magic? Is it gonna be low fantasy, high fantasy, medium fantasy, somewhere in the middle? I personally feel somewhere in the middle. Medium fantasy is probably our safest bet because we have a lot more
mhm.
leeway in both directions. But ultimately, we'll do what you guys want to do. So, do you guys want to go with low, medium, or high? And while they're thinking, um,
Mhm.
zoom in on those the islands just a little bit. Like get that all in frame. Yeah. Sevson says medium sounds good. Chrissy says closer to the medium side, I think.
So it's looking like medium is where we're gonna head with
Yeah.
what's going on, which is nice.
So yeah, we'll go with medium fantasy.
Mhm.
Um, and then something else, food for thought is we're gonna have to figure out what we want to do in terms of deities. If this is going to be a world in which people believe in deities that they'll never meet, deities that are active still with the world that come down and like more of a Greek kind of
Yeah.
Zeus and he's involved and sends Hercules and like something very active like that, or if it's going to be more like a current day Christianity where we have the stories that are in the Bible that yes the God was very involved in our world and he had a son and was down and was involved in the world, but as it stands in modern day, all we really have for proof are these documentations, these stories, or whatever we have in the Bible. We don't necessarily have proof to that, and that's not to say it didn't happen, but that's
Mhm.
not to say that it did either. And we can go on that, or we can have the gods are long dead. You know, so that's some food for thought. Something that
I really
uh,
like what Seb just said, just like an island with that has huge statues of their gods, but no one lives on it. Kind of reminds me of Easter Island. Is that what it is?
yeah, it's kind of like when I think of Sev say that, it reminds me of Easter Island. That was the first thing that popped in my head. But then
Mhm.
when she said an island that has huge statues of their gods,
Mhm.
that also kind of made me think of like Mount Olympus, where you have
Yeah.
like the Temple of Zeus and the statue of Zeus up there, and stuff like that that you'd see like especially in the Disney version of Hercules. So that they could take pilgrimages to. And that's not to say, and it's not even necessarily something that has to be answered either, because these people can go and make these pilgrimages to the islands and worship their gods and however they want to do it. But for all we know, the gods could be dead. That doesn't mean just because they're worshiping to them doesn't mean they're alive. Doesn't mean they're dead. There's all different ways we could go with this. So that's just kind of some food for thought. It's definitely something that we'll go into deeper as this goes.
Mhm.
But yeah. So for now, we're gonna stick with medium fantasy.
Oh,
We're gonna keep this little island chain going here, and I think for next week, what we're going to do is we will probably uh, focus on maybe naming this area, and
so we'll work section by section. So in the
yeah,
first area, we're gonna flesh it out. Maybe put some like lakes or ponds or whatever, some actual details on the map, and then start naming things.
yeah, and I mean, we can always adjust the names later.
Hmm.
But we could kind of get a general idea because when we start populating this too and be like, oh, well, we're going to have this run by, frogs, like frog people live in this section. The names may change to reflect that. You may want a more uh, amphibian style name to the region or the area or the towns or
Yeah.
so what we'll do here is we'll play around with some ideal names, but we'll zoom in on this area and we'll flesh out where there's swamps and lakes and mountains and rivers and
Hmm.
different things like that. So that is the plan for next week. You guys can definitely think of what you'd like these regions to be, and we'll explore more on that. So if we want to make one of these islands,
Hmm.
the place where the god statues are, we can do something like that. But then we have to determine what we're doing with the gods and stuff. So like I said, we'll deal with both of those topics next week. And yeah, so start thinking of it. Get some ideas. Definitely pull from. I like to be able to pull from the one thing you guys have to keep in mind for fantasy is nothing is original, and the faster you get that into your head, the faster you can let go and have freedom with it,
Hmm.
because originality in terms of races and different things like that, it doesn't exist anymore. Like it's impossible. We may come up with original concepts and stuff like that, but when you think of it, you're not going to just create a new race. You're going to create a race that's based on something. You're going to, frog people, like you create that that's based on an animal that exists, It's not something that you just created out of nothing,
Hmm.
you know. So, in terms of that, just pull from stuff like Chrissy was mentioning Supernatural before. I had mentioned Lost. Think of some of your favorite TV shows and different things like that, and or movies, and and go back, watch reference, watch stuff like go watch the Neverending Story, things like that, and you'll see that even the big name stuff like World of Warcraft, for example, pulls
Hmm.
from stuff like that all the time. Where do you think
Yeah.
the Swamp of Sorrows came from in World of Warcraft? That's from the Neverending Story. You know, that's exactly what were the names of the swamps in the Neverending Story? It was something sorrow. It might have
I think it
actually.
was. I think it was actually called the Swamp of Sorrow.
I'm gonna
I,
look
I
right
I
now.
don't quote me on that, but I mean, as soon as
Swamp of Sadness. That's what it
there,
was.
as soon as the horse starts sinking, oh my God, tears, tears, tears.
Yeah. No, it was the Swamp of Sadness. That's what it was. That's exactly where World of Warcraft got the idea for their swamp. They borrowed from it, right? Nothing's original anymore. Just keep that
No,
in mind for next week. And
the best we can do is throw our twists on and make it a little bit different.
of course, of course.
Mm.
So, uh,
Oh, I'm loving chat right now. You guys are awesome.
for sure. All right. So thank you guys very much, and we will join you guys next week where we
Um,
continue on with this.
yeah. Be sure to like if you have any ideas, we when we post this on YouTube, make the expand the comment to use to your best ability. Comment, leave ideas. You can also tweet at us, possibly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So there's also that option. So, and then we'll get the wiki going eventually, and then we'll be able to have people comment on that and try, and we'll definitely expand there as well. So,
Yeah, we'll be once we get some names and some areas, we'll flesh out a wiki for it, and you guys could follow along. So we'll have all the information available to everyone
yep.
to keep those ideas going. But until next time, see you guys later.